Now, earlier this week, the government announced that it will offer assistance to small businesses that have been hit by the coronavirus pandemic. But Property Point founder Shawn Theunissen says government needs to provide more details on the assistance. For more, I'm joined by Shawn via Skype. Shawn, thanks so much for joining us. Now, Property Point, just to give people some background for our conversation, over the past 12 years or so, Property Point has facilitated market opportunities for more than 1.5 billion rand for the 173 SMEs that's taken part in its 2-year enterprise and supplier developer programs. And why I say that is because it means that you really have your ear to the ground in what SMEs are going through on a day-to-day basis. What are you hearing from them about what the last 2 weeks have been like for them?
Good morning, Marcel, and good morning to the viewers as well. I think that as we're going into this time, and we are in this time, yes, it's a big health crisis, but for small businesses on the ground, it's a huge economic crisis. I think one of the key factors that we are seeing with small business at this point in time is very much the management of cash flow and really understanding whether their business will be able to survive during this tight time. We welcome government's announcement around the relief funds that they put in place. But I think one of the key things for small businesses on the ground is this enough? And are they able to really action it as quick as possible?
Now, talking about what is enough, what has been communicated to SMEs about what government is going to be able to help them with in terms of this coronavirus debt relief fund?
So, there's a couple of interventions that's put in place. We have the SMME fund that SEDA is running, which is government's agency. That's the 500 million that has been allocated to small businesses. There we're looking at South African businesses with a focus on youth, female, and disabled businesses. The question there is 500 million rand enough in terms of where businesses are at? We were in a recession, so they were already going through tough times. There's been no further details around that fund. There's a website's been set up, and the aim is that businesses are able to access and register their profile on the website. I think updated information now says that they'll be able to start dispersing funds in April. We still don't have those details available. I think from an employee perspective, we have the Temporary Employee Relief Fund, which will provide businesses an opportunity, if they're not able to pay their employees, for them to be able to apply through the Temporary Employment Relief Fund. Once again, Marcel, that is something that was in the market prior to COVID-19. And we need to be able to see, is the effectiveness of it there? Are they able to really speed up the disbursements of those funds? I think we also seen some great, some tax subsidies coming through. So being able to claim under your employment tax incentive for employees that's earning below 6,500, you would have a tax subsidy of 500 rand per month. Once again, that's also been in place prior to COVID-19. So it's about being able to make sure that the disbursements and the outlay of that happens quite quickly. On the tax side, we've seen some incentives as well. So being able to only take 20% of your pay as you earn during this time. And being able to also, SARS being able to accelerate payment of the employment tax incentive reimbursement program. The UIF has come to the party, and they've set up a fund for people to be able to claim if they are not able to work during this time. I think what I'm seeing, Marcel, is a lot of these funds that's been set up are funds that's almost been there prior to COVID-19. The biggest challenge now is, can we action it quite effectively? Do we have the systems in place on the ground to disperse quite quickly? We also don't have any details around the two big funds that was punted, the Rupert and Oppenheimer fund, where they've committed 1 billion each for the support of small businesses. So that's also going to be something that we need more information on in the market. The big question has also been the informal sector. And at this point in time, I think that the Solidarity Fund will also cater for that informal sector, but government did say that they will be providing additional details around the informal sector and initiatives put in place there. DTI's come to the party with a business growth and resilience facility, and CFA, which is the government finance agency, has relaxed some of their restrictions around businesses that have taken out loan facilities.
Now, Shawn, it sounds like there are more questions than answers here. How important is communication here? Will enough SMEs know that there is relief out there and how to go about accessing it? And are the various organizations like yours who work in that space with SMEs, has communication started between those organizations so that we can reach as many SMEs as possible?
I think that we definitely need to over-communicate every single time there's a briefing. We need to make sure that we are looking at the economic programs and stimulus packages that's been put in place. I don't think that we're communicating enough. I think that SMMEs are left wanting at the moment. Some of the businesses that we work with at Property Point have tried to access, for instance, the Economic Impact Fund, and you go onto the website, you register, and the website's full of traffic at the moment. So people are not able to get those applications through. We are in contact with the Department of Small Business Development as Property Point and SEDA, who's a partner of ours as well, to ensure that we are able to facilitate that information using the various social channels and online webinars to communicate with businesses.
And just before I let you go, one doesn't want to compare apples with pears, but you obviously are keeping an eye on how different countries are responding to the economic impact of COVID-19. Nigeria announcing a $136 million fund to help small and medium businesses there. Malaysia, $453 million in loans. I think I read somewhere that the UK is looking to cover about 80% of salaries, which looks like a huge relief there. And they really announced very clear objectives of what they're going to be doing to try and prop up the economy until it can get to the other side of this health crisis. Is what you've seen so far from what South Africa has put on the table enough? What more would you want to see?
I think it's definitely not enough. I think that if we look at the monies that's been committed in an economy that has already had a lot of pressure on it, we need more direct support. I think the biggest challenge that we're finding from businesses that we're speaking to at the moment is a cash flow challenge and whether they'll be able to weather the storm. I think what we are seeing is that small businesses that have been able to be put on the essential list, they're able to operate out there. We've got some great businesses out that's serving the public at the moment. And I think we need a more directive package around the informal sector. I think with the health crisis, it's the poor that's going to be the biggest hit. And the fact that we haven't released any details around how we're going to stimulate the informal sector is going to be quite critical. And I think we are lagging behind from an economics perspective in terms of the support that we're putting out. There's also a call for big business to speak up a little bit more. Hopefully, our encouragement to big business at this point in time is speak to small businesses in your supply chain, ensure that you are able to provide leniency around some of those deliverables, but keep the communication open, and it's key partnerships during this time that's going to be important to weather the storm. And even as Property Point, we're driving that agenda to really make sure that we are partnering with the right players in the market, speaking to government, engaging government, so that we're able to get the information out to the needy in terms of the small and growing businesses out there.
Indeed, a health crisis that is very quickly turning to be a crisis, especially in our small and medium enterprise businesses. Thank you so much for your insight. Shawn Theunissen there via Skype, the founder of Property Point.
Now, Trade and Industry Minister